Hello and welcome to the interview. Our guest today is the President of Afghanistan, Mr. Ashraf Ghani. Mr. President, thank you very much for being with us.
It's a pleasure to be with you, and of course, my deepest sympathies to the people of Paris and to the people of France, and congratulations for the spirit of resilience and determination.
Thank you. You're here in Paris for the climate summit. On the sidelines of the summit, you had an important, symbolic meeting with the Pakistani Prime Minister, Mr. Nawaz Sharif. Just for our viewers, the situation has been rather tense between your two countries. Back in July, Pakistan hosted talks between your government and the Taliban. They collapsed very quickly when it was revealed that the former Taliban leader, Mullah Omar, had actually died 2 years before. Since then, we've seen the Taliban on the offense. How important was that meeting today, and what came out of it, Mr. President?
The meeting is important because we have a state-to-state relationship. States are not teenagers. We are bound by national interest and by regional security and global security. So we must talk to define the outstanding issues and find solutions that are principled, lasting, and enduring and just. Pakistan's relationship with Afghanistan is determined by a three-dimensional conflict. First, there's regional terrorism that had its headquarters in the ungoverned spaces of Pakistan, and some of them have been shifted to Afghanistan as a result of military operations. Some continue. So ongoing terrorism is a common threat. Second, the Taliban have become both an Afghan and a Pakistani phenomenon. And this is a manifestation of radicalism and is embedded in his relationship with the former. And third, there has been an undeclared state of hostilities between our two countries over the last 14 years, and we focused on this three-dimensional conflict and its solutions because in the wake of the recent emergence of terrorism, again as a global threat, which Paris has so badly suffered from, we need to find solutions.
So what is the outcome of that meeting? First of all, will you go to Islamabad? There's supposed to be a meeting soon.
I'm considering. The key focus is to have a choreography where we can move in tandem and focus on resolution of the issues between now and end of winter.
Could there be a resumption of talks between you and the Taliban under the aegis of Pakistan soon?
The Afghan government talks to all its citizens. So there is no such thing as the Taliban after the death of Mullah Omar. There are groups of Taliban, and we will engage in talking with some of them, and if some of them would like to come through the mediation of Pakistan, that's something that we need to talk about and clarify based on which outcomes and what type of procedures.
So Pakistan can be, again, a trusted broker between you and the Taliban?
Pakistan can be a broker. The trust needs to be earned.
So you're still a little bit dubious?
No, as I'm saying, trust and verify.
Trust and verify. I want to get to the situation in the country, especially in the northern city of Kunduz. Several months ago, it was seized by the Taliban. It was the first provincial capital that was seized since the Taliban were ousted. It was retaken. However, they're still around the city. You went to Kunduz recently to say that you were firing some officials who you believe did not behave according to the standards. But also you heard complaints about locals that the central government, was not doing enough to protect them.
Sure. We appointed an independent commission of inquiry, former head of our intelligence service and former Minister of Education, two independent personalities, and a number of others, highly respected people. They did an investigation. They posed the central question: was it a conspiracy or was it a failure? And they documented a failure of leadership, particularly at the local level. And I went to be able to deal with that failure and to hear from the people. It was a vibrant town hall meeting, and our people, fortunately, believe in freedom and in free expression, and they engaged me, and I engaged them constructively.
Was it a failure from the central government as well?
There was not a failure from the central government in the sense that the same set of decisions in the rest of the provinces paid off. We had sufficient security forces, so it was not that we did not have security forces, but there was an intelligence failure. And one reason I fired, at the recommendation of the Director General of our intelligence service, all the officials at the local level, is because they had misrepresented the fact and they had not brought sufficient warning to the center on the basis of which the right decisions could be made. But also, central decision making needs improvement, and that's what we are focused on.
Is the city secure today from the Taliban?
The city is secure. The province still faces threats, and we are carrying out a comprehensive set of operations to make sure that the threat does not recur.
Kunduz was also the place where there was a tragic incident, the bombing of a hospital run by Médecins Sans Frontières. 30 people were killed. The US Army investigated, said it was quote-unquote human error, suspended some of the officials. However, MSF, as the organization is known, says it's not enough. We need a truly independent investigation, and this is possibly a war crime. What is your reaction?
I trust the investigation.
Really?
Yes, because
it was a fair and thorough investigation.
It was a fair and thorough investigation. The two buildings, I've seen detailed pictures, and of course I've seen the hospital in my previous visits. I didn't visit it during this visit. They're literally about 200 to 300 meters apart. The building that was for which fire was called was on a straight line. In this other building, there are no markers on the hospital.
But there were calls by the hospital staff for 1 hour or so.
That's well, everything is recorded. The inquiry has been very thorough. People are being sanctioned. People are being pushed to the next step of the legal process. And that is what a due process is about.
You don't want more?
No, because there's no precedent for this. MSF has not had a precedent globally. We are not going to become the first in a series of things. We trust in the due process, and the due process must be observed.
I want to get to...
But I appreciate, but simultaneously I want to make very clear that the people of Afghanistan and the government of Afghanistan are highly appreciative of the services of MSF, and we clearly respect the humanitarian space, and our army soldiers and officers and generals completely respected the humanitarian space at the hospital. It was a tragic incident. No one would want to confront an organization like MSF that has an incredibly large loudspeaker globally.
I want to get to the issue of the organization of the Islamic State, Daesh, as it's known. There have been reports that is taking hold in some parts of Afghanistan. Some people have talked about Nangarhar province, Zabul province. How much of a threat is it, or how much is it perceived maybe as a threat because people are scared, be it in Paris, in Turkey, in Lebanon, or elsewhere?
A year ago, I highlighted, I think it was in the Munich Security Conference, I coined 3 terms: pathology, morphology, and ecology of terrorism. And I then warned about the emerging threat from Daesh, both to us, regionally and globally. At that time, it was considered as an attempt to secure more resources for Afghanistan. Today, tragically, we understand that this was not. It was based on solid analysis of both Syria, Iraq emerging phenomena. What we need to recognize, terrorism is very fast learning. It's also, while morally totally reprehensible, sociologically it's become a system. It connects with modern technology, with forms of learning, recruitment, and forms of propaganda. And its pathology is to put fear. What is the attack, the serious attack? It's an attack on freedom of movement. It's an attack on the relationship between the citizen and the state. It's an attack on relationship of trust between citizens. It is a threat. We're dealing with it, but it has not become widespread, but it is a present form, and we need to pay attention to it.
Is it linked to the central organization of the Islamic State in Iraq and Syria, or is it mostly made up of Pakistanis, like has been reported?
The very conception of a hierarchy is a problem. These are networks.
Former Talibans?
These are networks that bring a lot of people, including recruitments of women from Afghanistan through networks by Australia. So your question, with due respect, is based on the model of Al-Qaeda, not the current form of terrorist networks. Networks thrive and replicate themselves. The learning of these terrorist organizations is enormously rapid. State response, unfortunately, has been very slow because bureaucracies do well by due process and long-term decision-making. But in the short term, they've had difficulty focus. And also, when we have not delivered services to our people, and when there has been widespread corruption and mismanagement and bad governance in our countries, we need to take responsibility for it.
Just very last question, Mr. President. Afghanistan has seen foreign troops for years. It has recently been prolonged. When do you foresee your country being able to defend itself on its own?
We are defending ourselves on our own. Don't forget, 135,000 troops left. And contrary to all predictions, we've been able to. It's Afghans that are fighting, dying, and defending our country.
Not alone.
Not alone, because it's a joint responsibility.
Mr. President, thank you very much, and thank you for watching this edition of the interview here on France 24.